It's a new year. That means we've got a new set of comic book movies and TV shows. So today I'm going to rank this year's comic book movies and TV shows based off my excitement for them. While I'm talking, be sure to join me down below in the comments section. Share your ranking of the upcoming comic book movies and TV shows based off of your excitement. And let's get started. In last place, Marvel's Zombies. Now, during season 1 of What If, they did a zombie episode, and it was a good bit of fun. It was a solid episode in that show, but I didn't watch that episode and think, man, I hope they make a TV show all about this. And then with the passing of time, I don't feel like What If has gotten better. So a spin-off from a show that I think has already been spiraling out of control just doesn't really interest me all that much. But if they actually do Zombie Morbius and we get Zombie Morbin time, this one shoots up to the top of the list. 13, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Now, when they first announced this project, it was going to be a prequel to Tom Holland's Spider-Man films, which I was very interested in because it was canonical, because it was putting them kind of in a very narrow window of time that would show this very rough around the edges, raw version of Spider-Man. All of that was interesting to me, but as time passed, they decided to just kind of do it as its own little pocket universe with its own rules, its own version of all the Spider-Man villains, in which case it's just another Spider-Man animated show. And we get a new animated Spider-Man show like every 5 years or so. That's just not really that interesting to me. I haven't even watched the trailer that they put out a week or so ago, so that kind of tells you exactly my excitement level. Old Guard 2. This is the sequel to the Netflix film starring Charlize Theron that is based off of a comic book. Now, I had a good time with the first movie when it came out. Maybe some of that is because it was 2020 and there weren't a lot of options, but this is kind of my sort of thing. But it's not a movie that I've ever rewatched. They announced they were doing a sequel. I was like, cool. Well, they shot the sequel. They shot this movie back in 2022, and it hasn't come out yet. So whatever interest I did have in this film has just started to dwindle. And when a movie is shot and it takes 3 years for it to come out, that's normally a red flag. Like something is up here, something's not quite working. And it's a shame because they brought in Uma Thurman, Henry Golding, so they got a good cast. I think there's a fun lore here. The action was solid, but all of my interest has just dwindled with the passage of time. Wonder Man. This is a new Marvel Disney Plus show that Daniel Destin Cretton is working on behind the scenes. I don't really know anything about the Wonder Man character, so I don't have any built-in excitement for it. There's some built-in skepticism towards Marvel Disney Plus shows, and the little clip that we saw out of in that teaser they put out a few months back, I didn't really understand what I was seeing. It was like the lead guy going to an audition, and Trevor from Iron Man 3 is showing up in it. I don't get it. I don't understand what I'm seeing. I do trust Daniel Destin Cretton, so there could be something here and we get a full trailer. It could win me over, but with the information I have right now, I'm just not excited yet. Bringing us into the top 10, Ironheart. This is another one where, like Old Guard 2, with time, my excitement has dwindled for the same reason. This show was also shot years ago. Actually, I think it was all shot in 2022. They shot it before Wakanda Forever came out, and it still doesn't come out for another over 6 months. That to me is concerning. Hey, I enjoyed the character enough in Wakanda Forever. I don't know anything about Ironheart from the comics. Of all the characters to give a show to, I think it's kind of odd that they're doing one for Ironheart. But like I said, a couple years ago, right after Wakanda Forever, I was kind of excited to see more of that character. And then there was a 3-year gap before the show will actually come out. I just can't get excited for that. Today's video is brought to you by Factor. Are you like me, ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. And that's everything that I want and need in 2025. I'm trying to be healthier and be more productive. Factor allows me to eat right in less time. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Keto is the plan that I go with because I'm a high protein, low carb kind of guy. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Sean Chandler 50 off. And use code SeanChandler50OFF to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code SeanChandler50OFF at factormeals.com/Sean Chandler 50OFF to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Number 9, Captain America Brave New World. Hey, the trailers for this movie have actually been pretty good. And the tone is a little bit more serious. I want more MCU films that kind of have that serious vibe to them. Love Harrison Ford, so I want to love this film. But there's a lot of things about it that are very concerning. Had this movie come out at the beginning of Phase 4 following up Endgame, I would have been so excited going into this movie. I went into Falcon and the Winter Soldier very excited to see what they were going to do, assuming it was like it's safe, but also a great genre. And I don't think that show was very good, and the mistakes it made, it didn't need to make, and they largely came down to the writing. And some of that writing team wrote this film. They hired the director of Cloverfield Paradox, which is not a good movie. So the creative team for it, I just don't think is very good. I don't have a problem with Sam being Captain America. I was kind of curious what they were going to do with that. I just don't trust the team. And then they literally delayed the movie a full year to do reshoots. And there have been reports of multiple bad test screenings, even after doing the reshoots to try and fix it. They added villains in. All of those are gigantic red flags that I simply can't ignore. I hope they fixed the movie and have something cool. But it sounds like it's another movie with a very troubled production because they microwaved the script and hired a less than proven director. Next up, Eyes of Wakanda. This is an animated series with only a few episodes kind of diving into the lore of Wakanda. And that sounds kind of cool. Like, I'm interested in that. I like the idea of kind of doing some of these smaller shows that have fewer episodes and where we take some pocket of the MCU that has kind of a rich history and dive into it. So doing that, hey, maybe we could do more of these. I kind of like that. I haven't seen a full trailer yet. I don't know who the lead character is. I don't know some of those specific things that kind of get me really excited for it. But on a conceptual level, I'm like, cool, yeah, I'm curious about this. 7, Invincible. People ask me about this show all the time. Have I seen it? Am I going to review it? The truth is, I've seen the first 2 episodes, but I was so late to the party that like there wasn't enough reason to binge through the entire thing. And then I was just kind of late to the part. Like I missed it when season 2 dropped, and I like have to do the homework of watching season 1. And I know people are interested, so I want to do it right. So it's absolutely on my radar. I haven't really seen it. I am curious. I am interested. All of you, they're like, Sean, check it out. Sean, check it out. I have heard you. I know. I just need to time things right to be able to get everything that's been released, watched before the new stuff drops so that I can cover it properly. But it's absolutely on my radar. I mean, I can't say it's like top level excitement because I haven't even watched it yet, but it's also not some of the ones where I have like the skepticism. I just haven't watched it yet. Number 6, Gen V Season 2. Now, I fell behind on the boys. I didn't watch Boys Season 3 when it first aired, and so I didn't watch Gen V when it first aired, but I played catch-up leading up to The Boys Season 4, and I thought Gen V was actually a pleasant surprise. It wasn't perfect. I didn't think it was as good as the best seasons of The Boys, but I did think it found a new angle to kind of explore the world of The Boys while still delivering that experience that you want, the irreverence, the hard or graphic violence and all the offensive stuff in there too, but very much with a different perspective because it is these college students. So I had a good time with it. It kind of also is kind of counterbalancing the world of The Boys, where the world of The Boys is about these people largely without powers trying to take out Supes and their corruption. And this is the people with powers that are in the middle of the conspiracy, the corruption, everything. Or it's almost the victims of what the other guys are doing and stuff like that. So I think they even found interesting dynamics in how they handled all that stuff. So want to see where they're going with this one and how it ties into the final season of The Boys. Peacemaker Season 2. Now, I thought Peacemaker Season 1 was really enjoyable and something that played very different in the world of all of these big, gigantic comic book movies and TV shows with massive threats. And there is a big threat in Season 1 of Peacemaker, but it also plays much smaller and it feels like an actual TV show. That's one of the things I just really enjoyed about it. Like he's hanging out at his apartment and they're going to an office building and there's threats and there's action and everything like that. But it felt like an actual TV show, which is what TV shows should do. It was funny, but it also had that James Gunn heart. It had that very extremely memorable opening credits dance sequence that I played on loop for a year straight. So I want to see what James Gunn is cooking, and I also want to see kind of how it ties into the DCU, where I don't want to say too much. If you've seen Creature Commandos, you realize kind of how James Gunn is pulling some stuff over to the new universe and how he kind of basically says, yeah, this stuff right here wasn't really in that one over there. It's really this one over here. So this is another one of those things just continuing to build out his DCU and helping us to understand how it all works. Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, a number of Fantastic Four movies have come out over the last 30 years, or in the case of one in the 90s, there was one that was made but never actually came out and was never intended to come out. But it feels like we've never gotten a definitive Fantastic Four movie. So when the MCU and Kevin Feige got a hold of the Fantastic Four, many of us got very excited. And then some of our excitement dwindled because it took so long for them to lock in a director and writer and cast and everything like that. But it finally happened. And so it became concrete. It's happening. They started talking about how it's in this retro future version of the 1960s on a different Earth, but we also know somehow that's going to tie into everything else. It all sounded so cool. It sounded interesting. And when some MCU projects, and by some I mean a lot of MCU projects, start to feel a little bit too much of the same without that distinct vibe and flavor to them, and then they're like retro future, and they show this imagery, it's so different and has its own unique aesthetic, and you immediately go, oh, that's cool. I imagine if we had a trailer for this movie, it would shoot up on this list a little bit more. This is another one that if they pull it off, this will be a very cool movie, and a movie that many of us have been waiting for a very long time. Real quick before I give you my top 3, remember to join me down below in the comments section. Share your ranking of the upcoming comic book movies and TV shows based off of your excitement. In third place, Thunderbolts, the MCU's version of the Suicide Squad. And to me, that sounds like a lot of fun. Like, I think that is an idea that is interesting. And even as you see how it works in the world of the MCU, they're taking some of these standout side characters from projects over the last 5 years and doing their own team-up movie. And then you got Bucky getting to be one of the lead characters in there. That sounds cool to me. And it doesn't feel like we're just ripping off the Suicide Squad. It's different enough, but also a premise that's from Suicide Squad that is transferable to do our own version of it. I like all of that. The idea of Yelena and Red Guardian coming back, having some fun. Like, just on paper, I see that and I go, that sounds like something I'm really going to like. And then John Walker was one of my favorite parts of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The idea of, essentially the idea of the character is if Tommy Lee Jones back in the 1940s had given the serum to who he wanted it to give it to, the classic soldier alpha male, that's what John Walker is, kind of. The non-Steve Rogerified Captain America. I like that. And that I like, that Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son, is in there, getting to see more of him. I'm so down for that. And the trailer, it had the MCU-isms, it had the humor, but once again, felt a little bit more serious. It had a little bit more grounded of a story, less gigantic CGI, spectacle, crazy characters, felt a little bit more grounded. I dig all of that. There's rumors of it tying into following up the Eternals and this thing popping up out of the ground, maybe adamantium tying into it. I love all of that. And the trailer, most importantly, features good old Texas band The Toadies that I saw in concert a whole lot back in the early zeros. So I thought about putting it number 1 just for that reason, but probably shouldn't do that. Our runner-up, Daredevil Born Again. And if you don't know, basically my favorite TV show of the last decade was Netflix Daredevil. And when it was canceled, I put out this rant video on my channel just screaming at it because the show ended on a high point. Season 3 was great. Everyone was excited about it. And then it was canceled, which, what on earth are you doing? It wasn't because the show was bad. It wasn't because of lack of viewership. It was all behind the scenes shenanigans. And we lost something fantastic because of it. So jump forward a number of years and Kingpin shows up in Hawkeye and Matt Murdock shows up in Spider-Man No Way Home. And we're doing it. They're coming back. And then they announced we're doing this show. I was so excited. And then all the rumors came. I saw who they hired as the writers for the original version. They were horrible. Like the writers for some show called Covert Ops that I've never heard of. I don't know anyone that's ever watched it. And some of the Arrowverse writers from the not so great seasons. And then there's it's not really. We're not bringing Foggy back. Karen's not coming back. It sounded horrible. And I even know someone that kind of had an interaction with John Bernthal at a Comic-Con about the original version. And they said he was pretty clearly extraordinarily disappointed with what they were doing. But they saw the episodes and they went, this sucks. We made something bad. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants this pretend version of this is a bait and switch. This is exploiting and taking advantage of fan love for something else. And it's basically doing a fan cast of a crappy thing. Like we're putting a skin of something they love on this thing that they're going to hate. That's gross. And so they basically scrapped it, brought in writers from the Marvel Netflix universe, and set out to fix it. Had an actual showrunner, cut the episodes way back. I haven't seen the leaked trailer, but the people that have say, yeah, it captures the vibe of the old show. This one is in second place on a lot of borrowed trust. That I'm trusting that they're fixing things. I trust that it's like the old one. So please, Kevin Feige, do this right. But coming in at number 1, James Gunn's Superman. Batman and Superman are my 2 favorite comic book characters of all time. I adored Guardians of the Galaxy. Thought the Suicide Squad, really great. I don't know if James Gunn is the right person to do Superman and launch the DCU. I don't know. But he's done some things that I adore. And if he can take D-level characters like the Guardians of the Galaxy and largely a bunch of nobodies, television actors and wrestlers, Chris Pratt, Dave Bautista, turn them into movie stars with characters that nobody's heard of, he has so much borrowed trust going into this movie. Like, I want him to succeed. I want him to do his Guardians of the Galaxy magic on Superman. But also this leads to more concerns here because he's so good with these ensembles of misfits and taking very weird characters and finding something so personal in them that's so human out of the weirdest of characters, King Shark, things like that. And that's not what Superman is. Superman is Superman. He's the star. And he's as much as an alien that can fly, he's also as good old-fashioned as you can get, raised on a farm with good old-fashioned traditional values. Is he the right person for that? The guy that was fired from Disney for his horrible jokes, horribly offensive jokes, is he the right guy to convert the most wholesome DC hero? I don't know. That trailer, as soon as it cut to that shot of Superman saving that girl, I was like, I can't wait to see that movie. That looks incredible. Is it overstuffed? I don't know. Do I have concerns? Absolutely. Am I so excited to see this movie? Absolutely, I am. I cannot wait to see what James Gunn is up to here. I so hope he knocks it out of the park, not just for me, but he makes a movie that is broadly accessible. I love Man of Steel, but it's spicy food. It's not for everybody. The deconstruction, it's not as hopeful as you might think for a movie that talks about how the symbol means hope. Hopefully this can be the broadly accessible version that gets a lot of people excited about DC again. That's what I want. Everyone, my kids excited about DC. That's what I want. So this one comes in at number 1. If you enjoyed this video, I've done a bunch of other videos doing my end of the year lists for last year, best, worst, surprises, all that stuff, and then my most anticipated movies of this year. You can check those out in that playlist right over there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.